Welcome.
This is one of my favorite events that I participate in all year, and it really is the great thing about baseball. And I've covered it for 51 years. Players are just human beings, and I think it's great to see humanity and not numbers. And although they're incredible numbers, seated next to me, but at the same time, this is really fun. And so thank you very much for coming out. And I hope you enjoyed yesterday as much as I did. I thought that was an incredible day of a celebration of the history of baseball in America. Because we started the first speech, the first honoree was doing what he did to get him here when Franklin Roosevelt was a football manager at a prep school in Massachusetts. So, I mean, that's the history of baseball is remarkable. And it's really a great thing. And everyone here has made a great deal of history in their time. And I have to ask you, I mean, one thing, it's always fascinates me if you could pick out one thing in your career which you look back and say, that was my greatest moment. And I'll start with you, Jim.
That's pretty easy for me. It was my 24th and final season. I'm sitting down in the bullpen in St. Louis. Bruce Suter's on the mound. Cops came down and said, hey, it's going to be a madhouse. When you get this last out, why don't you come down to the dugout? Dave Ricketts, the bullpen coach. I said, I'm not moving. I've been waiting for a long time for this, and I'm going to wait till he gets that last out. So Bruce Suter struck out Gorman Thomas in the 7th game of the 1982 World Series. I got my nice new Hall of Fame ring on today, but then I have that Cardinal ring. And this isn't a record of boasting. This is a record of being grateful, is that no professional player in any professional sport has ever had to wait 24 years to get their championship ring. So that's why that's my highest moment.
That's great. Well, with all the history, and I asked David about this yesterday. I actually asked Reggie Jackson yesterday afternoon, and he was astounded. I can't believe that. And he saw, I could see Poppy having this. Anyway, 500 home runs, 3 World Series rings, Hall of Fame. 4 people in history: Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Reggie Jackson, and Poppy.
That would be Poppy.
And Reggie said this to me, and Poppy said almost the same thing when we were interviewing him after the event. And the greatest part of that line of honors is the three World Series rings or more, and that's winning championships is so important to this game, and it's just an amazing statistic. And I was sitting there yesterday looking up at this stage, as I love to be next to it, and just to see everyone come in and then listen. But to think that half of those people who have done that incredible feat were sitting on the stage here yesterday. It was a great day for the Hall of Fame. It was a great day for every one of us who truly love the game. So, Tony, what do you remember most?
1965, because since you go to spring training every year, you only have one thing in mind, to be a champ. When 1965, when we win the American League champion, we play in the Dodgers and Sandy Koufax beat us, and the World Series, and the people I never remember to be second. We win the American League champ. And that was the more I remember, because all the ball players were so happy. All the fans were so happy. The owner was happy. Everybody was happy. We in the clubhouse, he was the guy had a lot to do with that to win the World Series. We don't win the
So
World
did he.
Series, but we were the American League champs. And you see all those ball players crying, and having a great time. I think this is one the part I remember more. I was very happy about everybody. I was happy. I am happy because I was able to share with my family. My family was in Cuba. But, to be a champion, be able to go to the World Series, this is the big thing for me.
That's tremendous. David? You have 20 years from now, what do you think would be the first thing you think about? What moment that you had?
First of all, you always had questions, and we had to give you an answer. But before I give you that answer, I gotta tell you, I'm so glad that I got inducted into the Hall of Fame and you being here, because I respect you and love you so much, and I know what you went through a while ago, and having you sitting right here, it's an honor, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, to be honest with you, sometimes I have a hard time believing that we won in 2004. Because that was crazy. No disrespect, but I think we play against the best New York Yankee team of all time based on their offense. I remember the third game that we played against, and it was like fireworks, like bam, bam, bam. And I was like, man, they scored like 18 runs, something like that. And our pitchers were able to shut them down after the third game. But it's amazing, how we bounced back and beat them. At the beginning, it took me a minute to think about it, because all the emotion and the mentality and the attitude, and my teammates, a few of them were here yesterday showing me some love. At the beginning, I was like, it was normal to me. But then, once I retired and I started watching highlights, because while I play, I have a hard time watching highlights from the past, because I was on the run all the time. I never had time to sit down, not even to have a coffee break. Now, I have plenty of time. And I sit down to watch that, and sometimes I still can't believe it. And in the city of Boston, it was a before and after, right after we won that championship. Everybody, we made the fan believe that the Red Sox can win championship. And as a player, I think that's the one thing that I care about the most. Winning championship, more than hitting home run, more than anything. Winning championship was what people remind you forever for.
With championships, it's about teammates, and I'm always fascinated by that people say, well, it's just statistics. No, we all know sometimes the 23rd guy in a team is as important as the 7th best player of the team or whatever, depending on a team. And I'm just curious as to, I'd just like to ask each one of you about a certain person you played with. And Tony, start with you, because, today there aren't roommates on the road. But you and Rod Carew, all those years, two of the greatest hitters that some of us ever saw, were roommates together. I'd love to hear you just talk about Rodney.
Oh, we roommate 11 years. The first year or two, I probably was his babysitter. Because he was very young, the first year coming to the ball club. But Rod Carew, he's a concentrate. His attitude was perfect. He know what he had to do to be success and produce and be in the big league from the beginning. I remember he used to go to spring training. He spent some time, half hour of bunt.
Yeah.
And he became the best bunt in baseball. If he need a base hit, you can play right there. He still a bunt and the ball look like it come back to you. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we roommate because we get along beautiful, and we talk a little bit about baseball sometimes, and we did sometimes some crazy stuff. He got this camera, where they take us some little movies, and sometimes he used to film himself, and we go to the room, and he put the sheet. They take the sheet from the bed and put it in the wall and start looking the film and see what we do wrong, we do this crazy thing, that today you know how to do it because you got everything here. But we spend a lot of time, talking about, we went to eat together, we go to the ballpark together. It's like two very close brothers. And this is reason Caru was very success. Yeah, I was success too. I tell the people, right between Caru and me, he's 700. I like sometimes he's 380 or something. I hit about 320, but was pretty good. Yeah.
He was great. Papi, I know you talk a lot about it, and it was fascinating listening to him yesterday, going on and on and on to me about different things, and especially that winter when you were let go by the Twins. But just when you look, you'll be friends with Pedro Martinez for life. I mean, there's no question. But just what his friendship and respect meant to you from the time you went to the Red Sox, which some people don't remember. You didn't play much in the first 2 or 3 months. Jeremy Giambi was the guy. He was the guy who was supposed to be. You didn't come in, riding in on a limousine. And just if you could just talk about his friendship, his respect, and his support.
Yeah, the beginning in Boston, it wasn't all about red carpet, At the beginning, it was a little rough. But I think, I was lucky enough to get through all the tough time. Basically, at the beginning of my career, so I learned, how to never let go whenever I get my shot. You know what I'm saying? And Pedro had always been a mentor to pretty much all of us. Generation basically a little be after him. I remember in my days in Minnesota, I remember I had a broken hand, and I used to come out early just to watch Pedro running pole to pole, and once he was done with, he used to sit down with me and give me advice and everything. And then basically, fool me out with confidence. That's what Pedro did. And let me tell you, he played on the opposite team at the time. I'm playing with Minnesota, he playing with Boston. Like, that's the kind of human being that Pedro is. And you're not just gonna hear that from me. You're gonna hear that from a lot of players in the big league. While Pedro was out there, Pedro, he just wanted everybody to do it right. He's the type of human being, he want everybody to be good. He believed on himself, which is what make him so amazing. Like Pedro gave me hitter advice when later on had to face him. How about that? I was like, you get away with that because you got 4 nasty pitches. That's how Pedro is, man. And like I say, and you say, Pedro gonna be there for me forever. because that's how much respect and love I got for him.
That's great. Jane, you probably have a pretty good idea what I'm going to ask you about, but there's a story that leads to where we are now. When the voting from the committee was held, and they informed Jim that he indeed was going to Cooperstown, he called Dick Allen's widow so that she would hear it from Jim before the news came out that he was one vote shy. And I thought that was one of the really great, most people would be, oh boy, just in an hour or in 20 minutes they're going to announce that I'm in the Hall of Fame. Instead, you called her to tell her so that you could tell her and that I believe you were one vote ahead of him. So.
Yeah. Actually, Willa called me. Dick Allen, even though we only played together a few years, we bonded because Dick was a guy that learned under Gene Mock. And even though, there's generational players, Dick Allen was a legendary player. The wind would be blowing in Comiskey Park, big park, and everybody said, nobody's going to hit one out of here today. And, of course, the famous picture of Dick on Sports Illustrated with his hard hat smoking a cigarette in the dugout. And, he'd look over and wink at me, and he'd hit one through the wind. And I'll give you a quick example. It's kind of self-serving, but Nolan Ryan is no-hitting us. We're not getting a sniff. And I gave up a home run to Frank Robinson, I think, in the third inning. Now it's 1-0. I'm giving up 8 or 9 hits. And I get the last out on top of the ninth. We run off the field, and Dick taps me on the butt and said, old timer, we're going to win this game. He leads off, and he hits a 3-hopper to third base. Shoo, beats it out. They make an error, sacrifice fly hit. We win 2-1. So he could not only hit home runs, but so we really became close because we loved the horses as well, and his brother Hank was on the team. But we were like with Tony, I'm so thrilled to go in with Tony, but I was hoping for Dick too. So the next day, Willa called me. And of course, Dick had passed away the year before. I talked to him briefly before that, and I was so hoping he would get it. She said, oh, Dick would be so happy, and I'm so happy for you. I'm glad you got in. I said, Willa, think about this. They could only vote for 4. Dick missed by 1 vote. If it came down to that last voter and he had to choose between Jim Kaat and Dick Allen, and he said, well, I'm going with Dick Allen. I said, I'd be calling you, and Dick would be in, and I'd be out. That's how fine the line. And I think Dick has to wait 3 more years now, but I really hope he does get in. He was just one of my favorite teammates.
One thing I remember is how much he could go hot and cold in doing interviews. I understood that. But I said one day, I really want to talk to you about base running. It was like an hour and a half. He did just a monologue about because he was a great base runner.
Yeah, let me say this about Dick Allen and what he had to go through. If he would have played with the Cardinals in his early years, they had Bob Gibson, Kurt Flood, Lou Brock, Bill White. He would have had some black brothers there. He played in Philadelphia, where he had to wear a hard hat in the field because they're throwing things at him. And obviously that created a lot of anguish for him, and he got a lot of bad press for it. But if he'd have come up in a organization like the Cardinals, life would have been a lot easier for him.
One of your funniest stories, I won't ask you to repeat it now, but the two of you shoveling out his stables is one of the funniest stories I ever heard. The two of you with shovels cleaning out.
Well, I'll do it quick, but after the season, I said, where's Dick live? Well, come out to my farm. He didn't have GPS, so Richie Ashburn gave me the directions. So I go out there, and Dick had his windows all dark, knocked on the door. He said, hey, old timer, what are you doing? I said, I want to see your farm. I heard you had a great racehorse. yeah, let's go out and look at him. Well, I went, he hadn't mucked out the stall in a while, so they had 2 pitchforks there. I had a pair of jeans. I said, let's go. So there we are for about an hour, and if you could have taped the baseball conversation we had, it was unbelievable. But that, you know, those are some of the great moments as a player that you remember.
David, really early in your Boston time, you were really active, and there would be kids at a ballpark, and there were a number of times when I brought the kids that I work with in the city at the ballpark. You're always helping out with the community and with kids on your other stops in Minnesota, and also, even when you were in Appleton, Wisconsin. Were you always one that went out and tried to help out with the community and the kids?
I always wanted to, especially where I come from. I come from a beautiful country that have so many beautiful and wonderful people, but as a third world country, you know that there's a deficit of, people being provided with, food and money and financial statement and this and that, a lot of things, and even me as a kid, I struggled. My mom and dad, they worked extremely hard to try to give me and my sister a good life, but it wasn't all that. They did what they can, something that every day I appreciate, but I also understand how hard it is for parents not being able to, provide for their kids, especially when you had a sick kid. And that's something that I always been aware of. And I'm a guy that I believe in God, and I also believe that He gives us the opportunity to be who we are, not only for you to benefit yourself, also to help some others, and I'm always down with, doing whatever it takes to help people out.
And I'll add in here, because the day the Red Sox honored the police and all the people involved, the first responders and so forth after the marathon bombing, after all the presentation, which was about an hour, the players were lined up in the dugout to go up the steps onto the field, and I was working from Nesson. And they had me at the end of the dugout right before the players went up the steps. And as the first couple of players went, Papi came charging down the club. I was actually worried. Did I do something wrong? Is he going to kill me here? But, and you were really hot. And you pointed out the kid Martin Richard, 8-year-old, and said they killed that kid. And then, of course, he was your son's age at the time. Mm-hmm. And I've actually gotten in touch with people who have said, well, that what he said when he got out on the field was premeditated. No, I was not. I can still see your face right in my face. You were so upset. And what that meant, there are more people in New England that remember that than any one single hit. Only Frank Robinson had more walk-off hits in his career than you did in baseball history. But that moment was so important, and I always like to say you were either Sam Adams or Ethan Allen, for the New England history. But I've always thought. Somebody asked me who is he, and I always use that for an example of what you were upset about was like the right thing, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that forever. And I like to remind people it was totally from right here.
Definitely, Twitter. You were there with me. And I mean, think about this. The Boston Marathon is something that has been going on for decades. And it's an appreciation of life when you talk about the Boston Marathon. And it's because so many people are getting together, so many people reunite to do something great. You know, so many people dedicate their time, that incredible effort to raise money to fight diseases. And when you come down to it, and all of a sudden you see this happening, it's a shocker. You know, like me, I've been living in this country for so long, and that was something that, to be honest with you, I was on shock, like seeing this young kid losing his life, waiting down the line for his mom or his dad that was running, seeing all these people being injured. I mean, that was something that it was unexpected, and to me, it hit me hard. It hit me deeply, you know. And I always say this: the same reaction I have, I'm pretty sure anybody around the world will feel the same way, because it's something that is not acceptable.
Well, that's so. And thank you all for surviving the rain. Hopefully it will not last. One thing that, to be on the level, the planes that all of you were on as players and competitors and people with character, I mean, to be here, you had to compete with so many great players. And I just keep thinking, Tony, I mean, you were 2 years in the big leagues, facing Sandy Koufax in the World Series. What was that like?
Well, my first round was pretty good. Was good. We won the game. I hit a double in the first game. The second time I faced him, no was that good.
He make you pay.
Well, he did something that nobody did it to me before. You know, he threw me a curve, the first pitch. I hit it way back. I hit it, that ball. The second time he threw me two fastballs right there. Look like it was about there, was about, high 90 for the ball. Look like the ball saw the bat and keep it go up, That swing two in a row, I never hit it. The next time, he threw me three fastballs in a row. I have a beautiful swing. I was down, everything. I never touched the ball. It's true, but I will tell you, after the World Series, I come back home and tell my wife, honey, I had to go and check my eyes. Because he can tell you, this is, we played together many years. If I swing the bat, I may miss one time, hit the ball. But I go hit the ball the second time for sure. He threw me 5 fastballs. I never touched the ball.
Yeah.
That was nice. That was nice. Whoop, the ball comes straight and look like go like that. You see, but it was nice to face Sandy Koufax. We faced him. We faced Drysdale, and that was a beautiful series. I think one of the problem that series was that we had to play in California. We had to play in the stadium, Dodger Stadium. We haven't had time to win there, They have a great pitcher staff, a lot of speed in the team. But we have a good pitcher staff, and we got a lot of hitting, power hitting. And the Dodgers have those rabbits, little rabbits who fly, they hit the ball, the field in the Dodger Stadium was like this here, It's Now, when they come back to Minnesota, the groundskeeping force, they put a lot of sign in the field.
Right.
Remember? Well, this way they don't get run.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? The umpire make they remove all that stuff out, you know. That was a lot of fun, but to face it, Sandy Koufax, and to face the Dodgers, it was special. The people thinking we're not going to win any game. And you know what happened? We lost 7 games. And same kind of game. The last game was 2-0. You know, they hit the foul pole, you know, one ball hit the foul pole. So the Messiah hit the ball, hit for 2 men base, hit a shot over third base. And Junior Gilliam make a good play. I think that was the ball.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
But there was, like I tell him yesterday, I saw something yesterday, I tell him, I said, I remember when you throw me 5 fastballs I never touched. You know, I went to check my eyes, you know. And he laughed about.
I know how to feel.
David, was there anyone that one pitcher that absolutely drove you crazy?
I mean, all of them drive you crazy.
Especially when you're in a slump.
You know, oh man, they can put them on the tee and you still miss it. But Pedro Martinez was like I face a lot of great pitchers. Roger Clemens, Mike Mussina, Roy Halladay, I mean, Scherzer, you name it. Verlander. Verlander is out there throwing 100 still. I was talking to him in the All-Star game. I was like, bro, how you popping 100 still? He was like, no, Papi, I'm throwing 99. That's what he's saying. That's my guy. Yeah. So I faced so many guys with great stuff, but Pedro Martinez, I think he got to be the tougher, and it's because Pedro have 4 good pitches, better than anybody I ever seen. You know, and when a pitcher had that many weapons as a hitter, I mean, it's harder than just when you know that a guy had 2 good pitches. You know, starters normally have 2 good pitches and then they have 2 others to defend themselves, you know, to use it whenever they feel like they need it. Right, Jim?
Usually 3 or 4. Pedro had 4.
He got 4 pitches that all of them were like faulty, you know. So Pedro used to give you 3 strikeouts and then take him back to his house to eat. At some point, I was like, when you can fight the enemy, join him. I was so happy and glad that he brought me to Boston. But I faced so many great pitchers. Mike Mussina was another guy that he had this little jump, releasing the ball, and it kind of cut off your momentum, you know. And but down the road, you know, I started doing better against him because I was talking to Manny Ramirez once because Manny had good number against him, and Manny gave me some ideas, and I always was searching, you know, trying to get better, and those ideas helped me out a lot. But Roy Halladay was another guy that, wow, rest in peace, man. Roy. I remember one time we were Roy Halladay. What made him so amazing, it was that he wanted to pitch against the good teams. I used to be like, we go to Toronto for 2-game series, we were facing him. He come home for 2-game series, we were facing him. We go over there for 3-game series. I went like, one day, I had a day off up in Toronto, and I went to the gym, and he was there working out, and he was pitching the next day, and he told me, why don't you have a day off tomorrow too? And I'm like, dude, do you think we want to face you? I would love to have a day off tomorrow, but it doesn't work that way, buddy. You know what I'm saying? He was such a great guy, man. incredible human being. He don't say much, but very professional, and he was one of the guys that I did good against him, but it's not like he was a fun or bad. I mean, this guy paint the strike zone better than anybody I ever seen. With anything, it can be with a backdoor quarter, with a 12-6, with a changeup. I mean, he pound you in with his force. I mean, he have it all. I faced so many. But the thing is that I always was looking forward to face those aces because I know aces, they were going to challenge me more than the third and fourth and fifth pitcher, you know. And I was always looking forward to face him. I know the chase was going to be less.
Jim, what about you? Was there a hitter or two in your career that you, at one point or another you said, I got to do something to figure out how to get this guy out?
Yeah, there might have been 200 or 300. Al Kaline with the Tigers is a guy. The four guys I faced more than anybody in my career: Louis Aparicio, Brooks Robinson, Al Kaline, and Carl Yastrzemski. I helped put them all in the Hall of Fame. Al Kaline, if you remember him with the Tigers, and I got to know him later as a broadcaster. He's such a good guy. And I said, Al, when I was scheduled to pitch in Detroit, I knew there'd be a limousine at the hotel to pick me up because you wanted to make sure I got to the park without getting hurt. But he's just one of those guys, and like Frank Robinson, if you pushed him off the plate, they got better.
Yeah, you're right.
And Brooksy had a little higher average against me, but Kaline did the damage, and he was just one of those guys. I roomed with Jim Merritt, who was a left-hand pitcher, and we'd go into Detroit, and we're pitching back-to-back games, and I said, well, what do you think, Roomy? Kaline goes 6 for 8, or do you think we can hold him to 4 hits? I mean, yeah, but he was by far my toughest challenge.
That's there are a lot of guys, and I think you understand this. Gene Mark once said to me, it's really fun to look for guys who, when people think, well, I'm going to brush them back or whatever, they don't get mad, they get even.
Yeah.
And
Tony was that way. Tony and Kaline and Frank Robinson. I mean, there's no need in knocking Frank Robinson down because his eyes just getting bigger.
Yastrzemski was that way too.
Yeah.
I mean, Jerry Remy and I used to kid about how somebody would do something like that, and we start grinding the bat, and he just get himself set. And again, Mark would always talk about him because he had him in the minor leagues before in Minneapolis before he went to Boston. But it's something to watch. I mean, you could get mad at an umpire,
What?
David, but you wouldn't get that mad at some pitcher.
Oh, yeah.
You want to compete against them.
See, Tony,
Without a
they want to pitch him up, and then I think I was pitching one night when they knocked the decal out of your helmet.
My first year, I started so good. I'm not supposed to do that work, but I was doing work. I was hitting about 400. Yeah, going to Baltimore. Steve Barber. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Throw BBs. Steve Barber hit me the hammer right here. The hammer, those days was the little hammer. Hit the hammer me right here and open a hole in the hammer. Yeah, I went to a hospital for 2-3 days. When I come back to a hospital, the manager said, you think you can pinch it? I pinch it, hit a dog. But you know something? I so lucky. Yeah, thank God every single day for how lucky I was. Because the ball player, when you get hit in the face or in the head, a lot of times you never be in the same place.
Never recover from it. Yeah, you're right.
It's a hitter because you will be, jumping. And every time I get hit, I don't know, maybe I was stupid or something. I get better. I don't know, you hit me, I get better.
We always knew if I pitched on the day I pitched, and if they did that to Tony, then my job was to, the rule was you knock him down, we're getting the pitcher +1. We're getting 2 for 1. Right?
Yeah, I was happy when he pitched, somebody knocked me down, or Camilo pitched. You know, Camilo will hit you in the minute. The only thing you have to do is look at him, you know.
And walk away.
But this is the kind of baseball we used to play, you know. Today you don't can do that. But in those days, everybody do. And I still think the kind of baseball we play in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, and 90s, maybe only 2000, I think it will be very hard to see that kind of baseball again. Because you remember, if it's a man, if you have to try to break a double play, you go try to break a double play. You know, the shortstop or the second base, they better get out of the way.
Right.
Or the hit, you know, you go after to try to break a double play. This way, the guy can score or something like that. Today, if you do that, you're in trouble.
No disrespect to the guy playing the game nowadays, but I tell you what, though, to me, I think it's even easier to do things. Like, for example, during my time, my last 5 years playing, they start talking about, you know, the pitcher hitting batters and this and that and all these rules. And I realized that everybody want to stay away from me. You know what I'm saying? I did this study, I'm telling you, Peter, like 6 years before I retired, about the strike zone, and more than 78% of the pitches, they were away. So I realized that I don't have to worry about the inside part of the plate no more.
Yeah, right.
Tricky thing, guy, right?
Yeah,
And I take advantage of.
sure.
I know you were going to stay away from me regardless. And I take advantage of it. And people continue asking me, man, you're making this game look. No. The one thing about the game that you have an advantage is to do your homework and get to know how they're going to treat you. And if you believe in yourself and you be like, okay, the inside part of the play is yours and the outside part of the play is mine, most of the time, as they execute away, you're going to be ready for it. Right, Jim?
Yeah.
If I know that you're going to stay away from me as a pitcher,
Right.
that gives me the opportunity to not worry about the inside part of the play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I see the guys nowadays that they have a hard time pitching in.
Yep.
Or everything they want to do is away. But guess what? As a hitter, when a guy tries to come in and throw the ball right here, make it move your feet,
Yeah.
you don't feel as comfortable as you do before that happened.
Yeah.
So now in your mind, like Tony say, I mean, there's a lot of guys that whenever they see that, their comfortability, I mean, the way they feel, it changed for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And guys need to be aware of. I mean, now you throw a pitch inside or you hit someone right away, it's a warning or whatever, you know. I saw so many guys that they were trying to go in and they missed and the ball hit the batter, who cares? But now I got to give you a warning because of it.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be hard for the guy, especially nowadays, all these guys throwing 100, that the minute you hit somebody or whatever, it's a warning and process, you know what I'm saying? I mean, breaking double play, I remember what happened with Chase Utley and all that, and that's when everything changed. But as a player, I got to tell you this. They took a weapon away from the game that they never should. I mean, and let me tell you why. I remember when I was playing A-ball, I have this manager, I talk about him on my speech yesterday, named Mike Goff. He was my manager in A-ball. He used to play in the middle infield. He used to be shortstop and second base. Somebody, when he played, break a double play, he ended up having a back injury, but the opposite team won the game, an important game in the playoff. So when he was our manager, we were playing in the playoff game. The guy that was running at first base didn't slide second base, didn't break the double play, game over. He waited for us in the clubhouse, shirt off, showed us his surgery, and told us, if you don't go down and hard and break double play, you're never going to be able to play in the big league. And we all got the memo, because that is part of what the game is all about.
Yep.
Things happen. Things, get ugly at some point. like the Chase Utley situation. I understand, but the breaking double play things is the nature of the game. And I never was like agreeing on taking that away from him. Right, bro?
You know, and what Poppy's saying with I've said that for years, that you're not trying to hit people, but in order to take the outside part away from the hitter, you have to be able to move a hitter off the plate. Now Reggie, he finally admitted it, but when Reggie came up as a young kid, we didn't have scouting reports, so I said, "Who's this Jackson kid? He's a left-hand hitter." Well, they said he's got good power of the opposite field, so I said to Earl Batty, "We got to come up and in on him once." Well, I hit the knob of his bat, and he went down. Then I threw him a breaking ball, and he struck out. I said to Earl, every game I face Reggie, I'm going to come in there a time or two. So later he said to me, "I knew you were coming in there, but I didn't know when." I said, "That's the point."
That's the thing. That's the tricky part of.
Right.
You know, and the thing about that they don't think about with the slides at second base, so forth, is, you know, if there are other men on base, you're taking it. First of all, it's a run. 28% of baseball games in the last 40 years have been decided by one run. So one run is important. But also, it's somebody else's RBI. It's somebody else scoring a run. It changes. There are ways to do it. And the ugly thing, actually, the poor shortstop for the Mets was all tangled up and couldn't get out of the way. But that's.
I think we lost our audio here somewhere.
Did we? Well, we'll keep going. Thank you. Couple of questions from the audience. Well, we don't have the sound right now, but okay. This question is from Frank Holman, Virginia Beach, and it's for Jim and Tony. He wants to know, what about Mudcat Grant, who the year you won, I believe, was the first African American pitcher in American League history to win 20 games.
I think he was a great pitcher. He was a very good. The people love him. To see him pitch, he pitched quick. He throw straight. He was very competitive. He was a nice guy. He was a team pitcher. Like, if you make an error or something behind him, he never get mad. He get better. And I tell you, this is one of the reasons we won that this year, because, you know, plus he keeping the team together too. You know, he's a very nice guy. You know, this is the kind of guy you like to have in the ball club.
Yeah, Mudcat, you know what really made our pitching staff that year is when Johnny Sane came over. And he taught us all this little, what he called a control breaking ball. I mean, the slider they throw today is like a cement mixer. It fizzles up there and they hit him out of the park 500 feet. And Mudcat really picked up that little late breaking ball. And I think probably Gibby won the Cy Young. There was only one then. I think Mudcat would have won the Cy Young in the American League. And then Game 6, the 65 series was the last series where every game was a complete game win. And Mudcat had two of them. Then he hit a home run Game 6 too. But yeah, he was a fun teammate.
Did he sing in the clubhouse?
He sing? Well, he sang at Harmon's memorial. So, you know, Mudcat had a group, Mudcat and the Kittens.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he was a song and dance man.
Yeah, he got that group they call the Kitty.
Right, Mudcat and the Kittens. Yeah.
He's very good too, no? He got a good group.
Yeah.
This is a question, well, this will be the last question, so nobody drowns, but it's a great question for all of you. From Susan Brown of Newton, Massachusetts. Who's the funniest guy you ever were around in baseball?
I don't hear that.
Probably
I
Joaquin
couldn't hear. What was the
Indahar.
question?
You wonder who the funniest guy we've been around in baseball.
I have an instant answer for that. Kevin Millar.
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Hand down.
Okay, we're gonna finish this. Thank you very much for coming. Unfortunately, I can't control weather.
Thank you.
Kevin Millar, Game 4 of that playoff series for the Yankees. I'm out there at 1:30 in the afternoon. He comes up,
Jamal,
steps.
how are you, Stacy? Okay. Stacy, how are you?
Thank you.
The legend and you guys to be able to
No sign, no sign.
copy.